Welcome to Understand All. I'm your host, Aslekeir Gairleif. Today, we're embarking on a fascinating journey into the paradox of choice. So, buckle up and get ready to have your mind blown. Have you ever found yourself standing in front of a wall of toothpaste, paralyzed by the sheer number of options? Whitening, tartar control, sensitive teeth, the list goes on and on. It's enough to make your head spin. Well, you're not alone. The paradox of choice is a phenomenon that affects us all. And today, we're going to uncover the surprising science behind why more isn't always better. But before we dive in, let me share a little story. I once got lost in the cereal aisle for a solid 30 minutes, trying to decide between the 50 different varieties. Fruity, chocolatey, whole grain, marshmallow filled. It was like a choose-your-own-adventure novel gone wrong. And that's when it hit me. Having too many choices can be overwhelming and actually lead to less satisfaction. Now let's take a step back and look at how we got here. In the past, our ancestors had limited options. It was like Henry Ford's famous quote about the Model T. You can have any color you want, as long as it's black. But fast forward to today, and we're living in a world of abundance. We have more choices than ever before, from the clothes we wear to the shows we stream. But at what cost? To answer that question, let's dive into the fascinating world of decision-making. Imagine you're choosing between 3 job offers. How do you decide? Well, it turns out that our brains have a complex system for processing choices. According to a study published in the Journal of Consumer Research, when we're faced with too many options, we tend to rely on heuristics, mental shortcuts that help us make decisions quickly. But here's the catch. These shortcuts don't always lead to the best outcomes. This brings us to the paradox of choice, a concept popularized by psychologist Barry Schwartz. In his book, The Paradox of Choice, Why More is Less, Schwartz argues that an abundance of options can actually lead to anxiety, indecision, and dissatisfaction. It's like the old saying, ignorance is bliss. Sometimes having fewer choices can actually make us happier. But don't just take my word for it. Let's look at some mind-boggling statistics. Did you know that the average American makes 35,000 decisions per day? That's according to a study by Cornell University. 35,000! No wonder we're all so exhausted by the end of the day. And get this. A study by Sheena Iyengar, a professor at Columbia Business School, found that when employees were given 50 investment options in their 401k plans, participation rates dropped by 10% compared to when they were given just 5 options. More choices, less action. It's counterintuitive, but it's true. So, what can we learn from these real-world examples of choice overload? Well, for starters, it's important to recognize that more isn't always better. Just because we have endless options doesn't mean we need to consider them all. In fact, having too many choices can lead to what's called analysis paralysis, the inability to make a decision because we're too busy weighing the pros and cons of each option. But fear not, my friends. There are practical strategies we can use to combat the paradox of choice. First and foremost, embrace the power of good enough. Instead of seeking the absolute best option, learn to be satisfied with one that meets your needs. This is called satisficing, and it can be a game changer when it comes to decision making. Another tip is to create your own choice filters. This means setting clear criteria for what you want and need before you start considering your options. By narrowing down your choices based on these filters, you can simplify the decision-making process and avoid getting bogged down in the details. Finally, practice the art of gratitude for the choices you've already made. Instead of second-guessing yourself or wondering if you made the right decision, take a moment to appreciate the options you have and the path you've chosen. Gratitude has been shown to increase happiness and satisfaction, so it's a powerful tool in the face of choice overload. Now let's take a moment to imagine 2 hypothetical worlds. In the first world, you have only one option for everything. One type of food, one style of clothing, one career path. It sounds limiting, right? But in the second world, you have a million options for every decision you make. Sounds overwhelming, doesn't it? The truth is, most of us would probably prefer something in between. A balance of choice and simplicity. And that brings us to our listener challenge for the week. I want you to pick one area of your life where you feel overwhelmed by choices. It could be your wardrobe, your grocery shopping, or even your Netflix queue. For the next 7 days, I challenge you to limit your choices in that area. See how it feels to have fewer options. Does it make your decision-making easier? Do you feel more satisfied with your choices? I'd love to hear about your experiences, so don't forget to share them with us. As we wrap up today's episode, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've learned. The paradox of choice is a powerful force in our lives, but it doesn't have to control us. By embracing strategies like satisficing, creating choice filters, and practicing gratitude, we can navigate the world of endless options with greater ease and satisfaction. So, the next time you find yourself frozen in front of a wall of toothpaste, remember this. Sometimes, the best choice is the one you make confidently, even if it's not the absolute best. Perfection is overrated, my friends. Embrace the power of good enough and watch your happiness soar. And that's a wrap for today's episode of Understand All. I hope you've enjoyed our exploration of the paradox of choice and gained some valuable insights along the way. Remember, you have the power to take control of your choices and create a life that truly satisfies you. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the wonders of the world around you.